sector, and also writing off all the debts that have been accumulated on those mills. So in a nutshell, the recommendations that were made by the task force, we are fully on course in implementing them, and therefore the recommendations on the legislation will be forwarded to Parliament on Monday so that Parliament can finalize the work and then we start implementing. On the coffee, we have finished sensitizing people in the Eastern region, and from July, in fact, we are having a meeting with the World Bank this afternoon to conclude the process of accessing more money to start the process of reviving coffee farming in Western Kenya, improving the infrastructure and the factories to make sure that the value of coffee that is produced there improves, because part of the problem is the infrastructure. And therefore, our meetings with farmers start in July. So we wanted to make it very clear that coffee is being revived across the country. It's not just the Eastern region. It was just a phased-up approach. And therefore, in July, we enter Western Kenya. The Sharia Advance is also a national fund that will be accessed by farmers or coffee farmers across the country. And therefore, we are giving Lindas here the forms that are required to be signed by farmers there so that they can be able to start accessing the Cherry Advance Fund. On the cotton, we already started the introduction of the BT cotton in Western Kenya. In fact, demonstration farms have already been set up there. And we are now in the process of accessing more resources to revive the engineries and also give farmers seeds that are quality seeds so that in the next season, the revival and the growing of cotton can start in earnest in Western Kenya. So in a nutshell, we are on course in the revival of those very, very important value chains that will end up improving the economy of Western Kenya and improving the lives of farmers in Western Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, CS Munya. CS Cicely Kariuki was here. She addressed the issues of floods. The Western region was very hard hit by floods, particularly the Budalangi area. And matters flood control have been canvassed at length, including the recovery process that has seen over 1.5 billion directed towards flood control. And she has indicated she will be visiting very soon after a technical committee visits next week to ensure that we deal with the issues of dikes, issues of construction of dams, and ensuring that those who have been affected by floods are given support, apart from the other water projects that are ongoing in the region, that the members across the region have been briefed properly on what national government is doing, and also what the counties are doing. We've also looked at the issues of the COVID-19 challenge, and we have been addressed by the CS here, representing our colleague CS Kagwe, including additional support to border counties. And we will be visiting the region very, very soon, as Chairman Dr. Matiang'i will tell us, together with the Chair COG. But may I thank the governors for being very, very united in terms of dealing with the issues and engaging us as national government. And what we've had here is a change of attitude, so that we are not only dealing in lamentations, but literally looking at implementation of key national government projects to transform the region. And may I now invite His Excellency Governor Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, COG Chair, who is also the chair of the region, Lake Region Economic Bloc, to come and address us and introduce his colleagues before I invite the Chair, CS Matiang'i, to speak to us. Karibu.
Yeah, thank you very much, CS Wamalwa. Before I make few remarks, I will want just my colleagues to make one or two words, starting with Governor Busia. Then Governor Tichiro will follow.
Okay, thank you, members of the press. I think we had a very fruitful meeting. As the governor coming from Busia, we have just talked about the issue concerning COVID-19 because Busia is faced with a crisis, a problem of not their making, but because it is an international border. But from previous meetings with the president, now with the CSS, a fund will be created to assist Busia sort out the mess that we have now, the COVID-19. So I want to say that as a representative for the Busia people, we shall continue cooperating and collaborating with the national government. Thank you.
I wish on behalf of our colleagues to say we are very happy as governors from Western Kenya region for taking this opportunity to meet and focus on development. And I want to thank the government and particularly the chair of today's meeting for the cordial discussions we have had. And basically we have realized that there are quite a number of projects that the national government has started in our region, but most of them have stalled because of either follow-up or one problem or another. So now with all the leadership in the region focusing on development, we believe that we will see fast transformation of our region and focus less on politics, but on development. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to emphasize that we have not come here for politics, but we have come here for development of Western region. Our first agenda was to look at stalled projects. There are quite a number of projects that were started in the past and they are not moving. So we wanted to engage, we have come here to engage the executive to see how these projects can be progressed. Secondly, there are new projects that we intend to undertake in that particular region. And we wanted, since the new budget is starting from 1st July, we wanted to know what is in there for the region so that we are able also to follow. And thirdly, the most critical issue was actually agriculture. As you know, the economy of that region depends on agriculture. And that's why you see the CS agriculture here, and I think he has expanded very well on the issues that we looked at. Then lastly, we had floods in that particular region. The floods displaced quite a number of families, and we wanted to know where we can fit as a region in the economic recovery fund, the 53 billion Kenya shillings that was announced by the president last month. And lastly, the government had promised to start 2 factories. In Western, the granite factory, in Vihiga, and the gold factory in Kakamega. These are very critical factories that was promised by the government, and we wanted to know also when these particular factories are going to commence. We have had a very fruitful meeting, and of course, being the first meeting, we could not clear everything, and we have agreed now to have a further meeting in July, and that time, that particular meeting will now be in Western region. Thank you very much, and I want to thank Mr. Matiang'i here for sparing his time, and the CSS who managed to come here, and also members of parliament that spared time to be with us here. We had apologies from our 2 colleagues, and we had to get involved as governors because to avoid duplication. Kera is there, Kura is there. We undertake some projects and we find that sometimes there is duplication. Now with the clear set out, because now we have all projects in the region have been tabulated. As governors, we are able to go through them so that when we plan ours, we do not duplicate. Thank you very much for the day.
Thank you very much. I would like now to invite our chairman, CS Matiang'i, to address us and to also just pass the apologies of CS Macharia, who was well represented here on Matters Road, Matters Airports, including the Kakamega Airstrip and Kitale, that already have contractors. And CS Matiang'i would pass the apologies. Karibu.
Thank you very much, my brother and my colleague, CS Omalwa, the chair of the Council of Governors, Governor Obaranya, and your colleagues who are here, my brothers and my colleagues from Cabinet, honorable members of Parliament, and colleagues from the various departments of government. I'm grateful, and on behalf of my colleagues, both those who are here and those who left slightly earlier because they had other responsibilities, we had apologies from CS Macharia and the CS Kawe who are on duty elsewhere. But their departments have been here, and the CS Munyes, because the granite factory in the Western region is a very important aspect of what you have discussed this morning. I want to say this in summary. I think we've had a good meeting. I thank the leaders for coming along. It's a morning well spent. We are focused on a number of things. It is true, as the leaders say, that in some areas in the Western region of our country, work has started. I mean, the contractor has moved to Kakamega Airstrip from 5th of June. Work has started on some of the roads. But it's also fair, and on this particular one, I have to be very frank and sincere to the public that it is fair that we are actually reassigning up to nearly 30% of the road projects in the Western region. Why? Because some contractors who were identified earlier either abandoned their contracts on the way because they did not have sufficient capacity, or there are challenges of one kind or the other. Funds are no longer the excuse, because it is true the Exchequer, our national treasury, released over 30 billion shillings in the last 2 weeks alone to pay up pending bills in particularly the road construction sector. We had the bond through which we have gotten resources. The truth of the matter is this, that some of our local contractors, and this just doesn't affect the western part of our country, it affects virtually most of our countries. And we have been moving around and come across cases where contractors are just basically playing games, or some of them are coming from that old school where they believed in navigating their way around by either bribing public officials or corrupting people in government and hoping that that is the way to proceed and survive. I have been telling these leaders that I was in Nyandarua on Monday, where a contractor took up an assignment to do 4.5 kilometers of a road about 4 years ago. I mean, honestly, just tell me how you can do 4.5 kilometers of a road for more than 4 years. And then I asked our Ngao and the police team to look for the contractor and arrest him, so that we actually can take them to court for wasting public resources. We are not going to play those kinds of games anymore. And it must be said quite clearly to all of us that, we long lost the days of playing around with public funds, where contractors believe that they will escape responsibility by bribing public officials. And we are here, there are PSS behind me here, there are directors, there are secretaries here, senior government officials. People understand that even we in the public sector will bear responsibility. We will have to face the law, because in cases where, for example, fictitious certificates have been issued, we had a case in Taita Taveta last week where, again, we had to insist on the arrest of not just the contractor, but even the public officials who issued those fictitious certificates for work that is not done. I mean, we must love our country enough to do the right thing and to do the work that we have been assigned to do. So I'm asking my colleagues in government, the leaders who have spoken to me have said nice things, but I want to be honest and level with the people of Kenya. We are playing games in certain cases with some of these projects. So yes, our colleagues have reassigned some of these projects, and as the chair of the Council of Governors said, we will move to the ground. In fact, had it not been for COVID and the challenges related to movement, we would have loved to have this meeting in Kakamega so that we are also able to bring in other lower level representation, MCAs and the others, so that we sit together and look at some of these projects together with the people who are affected, so that we listen to Wananchi also, who are affected in some of these areas. So as we navigate around the challenge of COVID-19, we will do more of our work in the field and meet with the leaders in the field. And we will not accept cases where people lie to us. You know, sometimes you get reports that tell you a road is 70% complete. And when you meet these leaders here, they tell you it's not even 20% complete in certain cases. So our colleagues who are especially in the infrastructure sector, and my brothers and I have had these discussions before, lower level officials, let's not frustrate the work that ministers and PSS are doing. No minister or no PS can be everywhere in the country. We depend on the lower level officials who supervise this work to do their work. But in cases where you are actually trying to navigate around and play games, you will face the law and you will have to bear responsibility for cases where all this lateness. We have raised issues, for example, of Lake Victoria North Water Company. How is it that you can do boreholes and put on record that you have done X number of boreholes in Western Kenya, and half of those boreholes are not yielding water, they are not complete, but we have in our books that you have done boreholes. So we have insisted that our colleagues, for example, from Lake Victoria North, have got to file a proper report. We will be in the field with the minister, and our county commissioners have been instructed to go and look at those, ensure they look at those boreholes, to be sure that what we have in the books is correct. We cannot play around with our people in the manner in which some of these things are. That's it.